What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
How are you doing this week, James?
Better than you by the looks of things. Choking to death over there.
Yeah, just a little bit. I took a swig of my coffee at the wrong point during the intro music there, James. And yeah, managed to stop coughing just as I was saying hello. So there you go. How are you, James? Are you all good?
Yeah, a little bit tired, but other than that.
Yeah. Was that at work again? Yeah, well.
Been one of those days.
Yes. Yeah, it was an exceptionally busy day today, actually. It seemed weird all around. Like, it took me nearly an hour longer than it normally does to get to work.
Yeah.
Because of like horrendous traffic, which I wasn't expecting, I must admit, at 5:30 this morning. It's usually pretty straight through for me.
Yeah, I don't know what it was like in London as well, but around here it was very humid, and that always drains it out of me, especially working outside.
I mean, obviously, I'm finishing up at Wimbledon tennis tournaments at the moment. A couple more days of that left, which is great. Can't wait for that to be over. But we were quite lucky today. I'd say there was definitely humidity there, but there was a nice-ish breeze every now and again, and it did try and rain quite a bit.
Yeah, that's what I think the problem around here was. It did that annoying thing where it rains for about a minute and then gives up, and it's like all it does is just raise the humidity, and then it's just like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's that time of year, isn't it, James? We just get awful weather at this time of year. It's meant to be a nice summer and all that, but it's never is, really, is it?
No.
But hey ho, what can we do? James, we played some games this week.
We did play some games this week.
We played quite a few games this week.
We did.
To be honest, yeah. Well, I mean, most of them was at the game night last night, if I'm honest. But I've played a few extra games. But James, we played a main event game last night.
We did.
What was it?
Earth.
We played Earth again.
We did.
Did you enjoy it second time round?
I did. It was definitely the second play, I can tell you that, because it's the one where I made all the mistakes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you still did pretty good.
I did pretty good, but, like, as I said to you guys, we were about, 5-6 rounds in when I realised that I hadn't been triggering my tableau every time that you guys did something. I'd only been doing the actions on the main board and going, oh yeah, I'm supposed to have done all this for 5 rounds.
Yeah, so, I mean, that obviously, I'm guessing that cost you quite a bit.
It would have done. Like, I didn't have as many... sprouts and that kind of stuff on my cards because I had about 5 or 6 different cards that were adding 2 or 3 of each, and it's sort of like, I've definitely lost some points there. I got too laser focused in on the objectives board and wasn't paying attention to my own tableau. Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I really enjoyed that game for multiple reasons, James. One, because it was the second play, which means I knew roughly what the game was doing, and I felt a bit better. I felt a bit more at home playing the game, and that led me to finally break my losing streak.
It did,
which was great, and it was kind of good because I noticed that you and Paul were really focusing on those center objectives.
Yeah,
and I sort of had decided fairly early on that I was going to go down a path of really pushing the water droplet cards, because that's one, my starting cards gave me a discount on that, and early on I got a couple of terrain cards which gave me another discount on it, so it was making all of those water droplet cards really cheap or even free. And so I decided to go for that, and my board ended up being a massive amount of terrain cards. And I think that's what actually won me the game, wasn't it? Because there was 2 particular ones. Like I had the card that gave you, was it 2 points for every leftover soil?
Yeah.
That you had, and I had something like 12 or 13 of them.
Yeah.
So that was a mass amount of points. But the other thing, Jason, is I adopted an air of, I know that I'm going to have a decent amount of points from that card, because I had that card from the outset. It's the very first hand I had.
Yeah.
So I decided that was going to be my last card that I would play. So I knew I was going to get that. So my decision in that game was to really rush filling my board. Not with cards that made no sense, but
Yeah.
get it full as quickly as possible to stop you guys from achieving too much. And it paid off quite nicely, to be fair, because we did finish off quite quickly.
We did it in, what, an hour? I think we worked it out.
Yeah, I think it was about an hour. And that's with us chit-chatting.
I mean,
I
think it was plainly obvious that we knew what we would do. Yeah, aside from my complete gaffe of forgetting to trigger it, we all had our strategies, and I think that reflected by the fact that, like, in the first game, obviously, we were all sort of picking it up. It was like there were only 14 points between first and last place, whereas the pointage was a little bit more spread out this game because we'd all had, all right, we've all picked a different strategy and are working towards it, and whether it's paid off or not. Yeah,
exactly. And the game felt really good this time. Because like you said, because we had strategy, because we had plans, it just felt like it just ran smoother. It didn't feel quite as clunky as it did the first time round. So I was happy with that. Looking forward to another play of it, which I think we've already geared up to play it again in the next couple of days, which is going to be good. But before we played that, James, I introduced you to another game.
You did.
And it was a game that I purchased at the Games Expo.
Yes.
Which was Aurum. Now, this is a little mini sort of trick-taking game from Pandasaurus Games. What was your first impressions, just out of curiosity? Because I know we haven't really talked about it.
Meh.
Yeah.
That would be the impression. Meh.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you've played trick-taking games before. It's not. I don't think it's a particular fan favourite for you, mechanism-wise, is it? It's not like bad.
No.
You don't dislike it, but it's not.
There was... I mean, we were supposed to do 3 rounds and we did 1.
Yeah.
And then we all... I think we all generally sort of went, we've seen all that we're going to see out of this game, let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of did feel a bit dry and, I don't know, kind of just a bit boring. Like, the theme just isn't there.
Well, it was that whole... For me, it was exactly what I did, and it's like, well, you have to bid at the beginning, and it's like, you get double points if you...
Get it spot
it spot on. So, bid low, and as soon as you hit it, you can end the round by refusing to play a card. It's just sort of like, well, yeah, bid 2 or 3, and as soon as you get 2 or 3, your points double.
Yeah, I mean, you say refusing to play a card. There are things in the game that kind of stop it, I guess. But I think it's going to be one of those that will get a couple more plays out of it. Because, we'll still stick by our rules of, we need to play a game 3 times before we can really cast a judgment on whether it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a game would have to be horrifically bad for me to just sort of play it once and then go, no, I'm never touching that game again.
Yeah. It's not...
But I'm not going to lie. Like, after playing it, I was a bit like...
The big red flag to me is the fact that we did 1 of 3 rounds and went, that's enough.
Yeah, which is concerning.
Yes.
It is concerning. I think we'll give it another go soon, but I don't think that's going to be a keeper. Let's put it that way, which is a shame. But game number 3 of the evening, James, was your choice. What did you choose?
I can't remember. Oh, yeah, Acropolis.
How did you forget, James? It was last night. Less than 24 hours ago.
That tells you what kind of day of work I've had.
But yes, we played Acropolis again. This is kind of proving to be a bit of a favourite of yours, isn't it?
I do enjoy that game.
Yeah.
But it's the same. I think I also enjoy Rome in a Day, which is fairly similar, but a lot more basic, I would say, to Acropolis. But yeah, it's a simple enough game, but surprisingly thinky, and I really do enjoy that.
Yeah. I think if memory serves, you completely demolished both myself and Paul.
Which, I've got to be honest, was a surprise.
We played the variant
version
this time, though.
It was... I was getting worried because I want it on the gardens, and the garden multipliers they were either not coming out or they were far too high up the up the list for me to be able to afford. So I was worried quite a bit, and then realised that also that my next highest scoring one, which would have been the temples, which have to be completely surrounded, were next to the lakes, so they don't count because they're not surrounded.
Yeah, that was a bit of a
that was
a shock moment for you at the end, wasn't
right
it?
at the end. It was just like, oh, that
I've got a temple on the second level. Yeah, but the one below it and to the side is a lake, which means it's not surrounded.
yeah.
Yeah, that did cost you a little bit, but you still walked it quite easily. So, I enjoy playing the variation actually of Acropolis because it does add an extra level of thinkiness. You know, because I always thought to myself that no, especially in the variation version, going for that blue, you know, the housing one is it's dirty. You know, because if you get more than 10, it automatically doubles.
Yeah.
And then if you get all of those multipliers as well, it's a horrific amount of points.
Yeah.
But this time I opted not to really go for it. I got to the 10, but I think I had exactly 10.
Yeah.
And I only had 2 multipliers, so I didn't get a lot. But
well, I
went more for the yellow one, which I don't usually do.
I seem to remember you doing that in one of our previous games where not only was your blue section horrifically large, but it was what I think you got it up to tier 3, which was just like, once the multiplier kicks in, it's like, that's filth.
Yeah, exactly. And it is very, very powerful, but it's also the one that everyone knows is powerful, so they'll all go for it.
It's the thing that I think is misleading about that is everyone always forgets that the base multipliers are only 1, like the plazas. Yeah. So you think, I got all this. And then you look at it and then realise that your final multiplier is 1 because you only got 1 blue plaza because you forgot to collect them. Yeah,
exactly. And that works in the base game as well, doesn't it? As well as the variation. But yeah, the yellow one for me was interesting because I don't usually go for yellows or reds really in the normal game, but in this one I did. And the yellow one is different in the sense of your yellows are doubled if they're next to the multiplier.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And because you can't put yellows next to each other, you could now stick the multiplier in between them, and that one multiplier would work for both of them. But then what we did find is when it came to the scoring at the end, it was really easy to lose track of which ones were worth double and which ones weren't, and all that kind of stuff. So we did have to sit and really sort of just pay attention to what we're doing here. And I think... I can't remember what the purple one was for the variation, if I'm honest.
It has to be. It's worth _2 if it's above and
that
surrounded.
Was a higher level, yeah. So instead of being worth 2, it's worth 4, which is pretty good. The red one, if I remember correctly, is if it had three or spaces.
3 or 4 exposed spaces on the outside.
It was worth double. That was good, and I managed to do quite well with that. But the variation play definitely changes up that game quite a bit.
Yep.
Would it be something that you would want to play every time that you play Acropolis going forward, or is there still a little bit of love for the original
I think having played it enough times now, I would play it with the variation.
Okay. I think I would agree. I'm more than happy to play it as a standard.
For me, the standard one now is for when you're introducing brand new people to it.
Yeah.
Because obviously there is quite a bit of, like we've said, a bit of thinkiness to it. So it's like you get used to the standard play before you chuck the variations in.
Yeah.
But once you're used to it, play with the variations.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I would agree with that. That's a pretty good way of looking at it, to be fair. After James disappeared last night, myself and Paul decided to play one more game. And it was a game that I've been interested in trying, which is another new game, which was Star Wars Rivals, which is the new 2-player game from, I think it's Funko Games, with their little Star Wars miniatures. And it's basically a battling game. You have 3 characters and there's some locations, and you place your characters at locations, and you're trying to claim those locations, basically. And you do that with your character's influences. So I think I had Darth Vader, shock horror. I was playing as the dark side. I had Darth Vader, General Grievous, and Asajj Ventress. And I think Paul was playing Luke Skywalker, Yoda, and the Wookiee, Chewbacca. And yeah, it was an interesting game. It's another one of them games, to be honest. It's just sort of like the miniatures aren't needed, really, because they are, I'm going here. It's like, okay, well, I could do that with the token. But to be honest, the game is cheap enough anyway.
Yeah, they may not be needed, but the word Funko.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pleased to say they're not pop figures, because otherwise I really wouldn't have liked that at all. They're quite nice figurines. And if I'm honest, the price they charge for it is probably good enough just for the figurines. I think a lot of people will buy it just for the figurines. The main issue I kind of have with the game is it was very, very basic. I'm glad I haven't personally spent money on it. But the main issue is buying more characters. It's like buying a booster pack for TCG. You don't know what you're going to get. And I think the price that I saw on the boxes were like a $5, and you get the minifigure, you get a couple of cards for the character, and that's it. But one thing I do like about it, though, having said that, is in every single box, they will give you the dice you need, they'll give you some location cards, and the character cards, and the character figure, which means if I bought a box and you bought a box, we can play a game. It's not going to be a full-size game, but with just those two boxes, we can play a game. That's pretty cool. However, is it worth the money? I'm not sure what the base set is. It's another game I want to play again. I think you would enjoy the game, James, but it's not going to be a game I think we're going to be sitting there going, oh, yeah. I don't think it's a game that everyone needs to go and buy.
It's sounding to me like a simplistic version of Destiny with figurines.
Sort of. Yeah. I would probably say there is definitely some similarities to it. So we'll get you to play it at some point.
I do miss that game sometimes.
I really miss that game. I was looking down under my desk earlier and just seeing those two unopened booster boxes of Destiny that I'm just sort of still sitting there like, I really want to open them and play the game again, but what can we do? It's another dead game.
Yep.
New topical there, James. Top 5 games that are dead that we wish would come back. Interesting. But yeah, they're the games we've been playing this week. They've been fun. I have enjoyed them. Look forward to playing them all a bit more. But yeah, we've got no game that we played this time last year to talk about, James. But we have got a topical discussion that we can talk about.
Oh, a topical.
Topical. Are you ready for a topical discussion?
A discussion?
Discussion.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okie dokie do. So, topical discussion for this week, James. We've talked previously, I believe, about alpha gamers.
Yes.
And how horrible these people are. And, how they take over games and all of that jazz. And how they're not good for the hobby in any way, shape or form.
Or are they?
Or are they? Because today, James, I want to talk about the positive sides of alpha gamers. Now, off the top of the bat, would you say there's anything positive about an alpha gamer?
I would, but I have a far more important question, Jason.
Okay, what's that?
Is the reason we're doing this topical because somebody's called you an alpha gamer and you now feel the need to justify it?
I mean, maybe. No, they've sort of said it in jest, I guess, because it wasn't because I was being particularly boisterous or anything like that while we were playing a game. I wasn't trying to take over while we were playing a co-op game. Nothing horrendous like that. But it was interesting to me because we were having a discussion about stuff, and I got called an alpha gamer because of what we do. Basically, they sort of said, well, we were actually talking about the podcast as it happens, and they referred to both of us as alpha gamers. And I immediately sort of went, well, how are we alpha gamers? I mean, I very rarely play games with this person. How do you know that I'm an alpha gamer? And they sort of went on to explain. And actually, it does make sense, because when you actually think about the term alpha gamer, it doesn't necessarily mean the derogatory term that we're all used to.
I mean, in its proper context, it's like basically it's a leader in the terms of introducing things, but you're supposed to be positive. It is supposed to be a positive role model, effectively.
It's someone who's passionate about the game system in question, be it war game, board game, RPG, whatever it be. There are alpha gamers in all of them, and in board games, the reason they were referring to us as alpha gamers is because we are very passionate about it, and we are constantly introducing new games to our groups. And when I sort of really thought about it, I was like, actually, this kind of makes sense, but I'm pretty sure that's not what an alpha gamer is. So I in my time working very, very hard,
you went on the Google.
I may have gone on Google, and I was having a look and doing a little bit of research. And actually, alpha gamer is actually something that the industry looks upon as one of the most key steps to actually getting games out there and spreading the news. Because even now, especially in the board game industry, the best marketing that they can get is still word of mouth. And the best way to get the word of mouth out there is by to really targeting an alpha gamer like us. So, James, is that something you view an alpha gamer as being, really?
I mean, you've done your research. For me, the negative connotation of the word still rings to the front.
Yeah.
If someone says that, it's like you were saying before we turned the mics on. It's like it's alpha gamer, power gamer. They've all kind of merged, into one definition of that person. I'm sure everyone knows.
Yeah. See, one thing I've not really noticed while doing research is when you think of the whole term alpha is obviously, as we've discussed before, derivative of the whole pack leader type deal. But also when you think about packs, you also normally get the Omega as well. And I've not really heard any terminology in tabletop gaming, really, of an Omega player. Maybe there's a distinction there.
I mean, to be honest, I've never heard that in relation to what people think, because there are other areas where where the term alpha has been used and is also derogatory. That's alpha male, like that tends to be quite derogatory these days, mainly because those kind of people tend to be, I can't say it on a family friendly show, but they're not what they think they are.
Yes.
Alpha and Omega are supposed to be opposites from their sort of theological standpoints.
Yeah. When I think about the whole alpha gamer thing, and even if I'm thinking of what the industry views as an alpha gamer, does that mean that actually alpha gamers are technically, I'm air quoting here, good for the hobby in that sense? In
that sense, yes, because like you said, they tend to be the ones who are
passionate.
Passionate. More likely to introduce a new game to they're the ones that get excited about things like releases. It's like, oh, guys, I've got this really good game. We need to try it. We need to sit down. We need to play it.
Yeah. And they will tend to be the ones that will buy the games.
Yeah.
They'll learn the games and then introduce them to people. They're not the type of person that will buy the game and go, right, you learn it and teach me.
It's I suppose in the context of the industry views it's like you have alphas and you have casuals.
Yeah, I'd agree. And on a personal level as well, James, it's irony really that you mentioned it before we went live. I'd had actually written this down ready to talk about anyway. On a personal level at the game club that we run,
yes,
we have what I would deem as a very similar hierarchy, for lack of a better term, as the industry. We have people that we know we can go to for certain gaming systems who are really passionate about those gaming systems, and they also kind of act as like a spokesman for that game system at the club, or that minor game group within the game group within the game group.
Yep.
At our club. You mentioned one by name. Obviously, we won't mention that person on here by name, but there are a few. We have one for 40k. We have one for fantasy gaming. We have one for RPGs. We also have some for board games as well. So ultimately,
and
there's my argument straight away. I'm clearly not an alpha gamer, because if I if I look at someone else as the alpha of board gaming, how can I be an alpha?
Right, that's it. You now need if we're going to follow the pack rules, mate, there now needs to be a challenge.
Yep. But yeah, in jest, I don't actually like the term alpha gamer, if I'm completely honest.
No, I don't.
Because, like you said, it comes to the forefront as a derogatory thing.
Not only that, but in all seriousness, it tends to, like you said, bring up those connotations of a leadership position.
Yeah.
Which all of those people we've mentioned in jest would immediately turn around and go, that's not me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But really, when you're sort of talking about, these people that are organising all of these games and trying to create side chats and all that everything that's dedicated to that game system.
That's what I would point out to them. It's like, you guys
are literally the definition of a pack leader.
Yeah, you guys moderate the chats that you've set up for these games, and you've done all that. You came to speak to us as it's the club, but you did it off your own back.
Yep.
You do, whether you want to admit it or not, you do kind of marshal the other people who are in there.
Yep.
Sounds like a leadership position to me.
I mean, this is the thing. When you really think it, we operate as a table booking system at our club because it is that busy. We have to have a table booking system for first come, first serve basis. And and all the different game systems, they all have the same, again, the same, I guess, hierarchy of booking those tables. They arrange their games, and then usually that one representative, air quotes, is the one that will place the booking order, the table booking for however many tables they need. And it is just sort of like, it makes it easier for us because, we know that when that booking comes in from that person, all of those people are going to turn up, which is great. It saves us from having to take any kind of deposit for those tables or anything like that because we know we can trust them and
well, yeah, expect like the board gaming ones are fairly simple. The war gaming one is an absolute blessing because it's gotten to the point where it's so large that most of them are not coming down every week.
Yeah.
Because life stuff, and it gives them a place to organise their games. Most of the time, they'll throw a message up in there saying, anyone free for a game? And it's an easy way to communicate with all of them. And it's sort of like, we don't have the time to moderate all these groups.
Yeah.
So these people have stepped forward and created them and moderate them. It's like I said, that sounds like a leadership position to me.
Definitely. And to really nail that home, and this isn't even gaming related really, but we once had an issue with something within one of those little mini groups, and the air quotes pack leader, the alpha gamer of the group, dealt with it.
Yes.
Not in a nasty way or anything like that. Didn't take out the laundry or whatever. But, they sort of...
The person is wearing a pair of concrete shoes now. We didn't... Oh, well,
at the bottom of a river.
I say that. We didn't ask what happened to him.
Yeah, we haven't seen him again, really. No. They sort of respected the fact that, what we do is provide them, the area, and someone was, whether it be on purpose or accidentally, was stepping out of line with what they were doing. A quiet word in the ear dealt with the issue. And it's been smooth sailing ever since. But it all came down to that whole thing of, we had a lot of respect, and we still do have a lot of respect for that pack leader, alpha male, whatever you want to call them. And the players of their group had respect for that person enough that when the words were were talked about, they respected it and changed. And that really is screaming of a pack leader.
It is. And I suppose to emphasize what the point of this podcast is, and your question of are they a positive influence, based on our experience at the club, I'd have to say yes.
Yeah.
Because those people have done that as well. They don't really get anything out of it apart from their particular game system and community thrives.
Yeah, 100%.
So on that basis alone, they are a very positive influence.
Yeah. A lot of this we are referring to a particular group, which is the 40K group. When we came out of lockdown, the 40K sort of was always there, but it was like one game a week or something like that. And we were struggling to sort of get them to come down, play their games, and what have you. That particular person actually started coming to the club around that time, and they were struggling to get games and stuff like that. But what they did, and this is where, again, this whole industry view on Alpha Gamers come in, they were bringing their armies down, multiple armies, and then running people through games, having it on the table, having people see it, promoting the game within the club, more people noticed it was being played, and then every week there was someone new that was playing a game with this person using his armies, and then more and more people came to, oh, well, actually, I've got my own army now. Oh, brilliant. Well, let's play it. And just over time, and I say over time, it actually was quite a quick growth for us.
It was.
But over time, more and more people, more and more players started playing 40k to a point now where we're at capacity of 40k games every single week. But have you noticed it's now happening again with the Lord of the Rings game?
Yes.
We got a message to the club just randomly a few months ago and sort of, does anyone play it? Because I'll be honest with you, not really. However, if you come down, bring some armies, show people what it's about, maybe, just maybe, that it might catch a few people's eyes. And it did. Now, that person, it's not as big as the 40k group or anything like that, but there's now a regular turnout of the Lord of the Rings game. And it's all because of that one, air quotes, alpha gamer, pack leader of that game system.
Yep.
He has a particular game system he likes. He wants to play it. He's showing it off to as many people as he possibly can. And boom, it takes off. Board games, I find, are a bit different because it's not a case of someone championing one game.
No.
Board games is totally different in the sense of the alpha gamer, the pack leader, if you like,
has a 5x5 Kallax.
Has a 5x5 Kallax and happen, that's sat right next to it. But it's always a different game. It's always the new hotness. Bang, bang, bang. What's hot? This is what's hot. I've bought it. Let's play it. Let's try it. Who wants in? I'll teach you. I've learnt the rules. I've bought this game. I've taken the rule book out. I've studied the rule book. I know how to play it. Let's go. There's, but you will always get people wanting to play a new game, James, but they haven't learnt the rules. They are the people that I would sort of say, they're not what would qualify for me as an alpha gamer. That's just someone, I've bought a game, I want to play it. Whereas, your alpha gamer is, this week we've got Earth, bang, it's brand new, let's play it. Next week, we're playing Darwin's Journey. Week after that, we're playing Smartphone. Week after that, we're playing First Rat. Next, every week, something different.
Oh, yeah, but even the alphas have got their favourite.
Of course they do. But they're more happy to play something new than they are to replay something, unless it's their favourites, obviously. So, deep down, it's really hard to say it because I am the same as you. When I think alpha gamer, I think, no, horrible people, don't want them around. But actually, they're actually pretty good for the business.
Yes.
And actually, I am an alpha gamer.
Yes.
And even worse, James, as someone who owns just 3 games, you are an alpha gamer.
Welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, where we now feel the need to justify that we have been called alpha gamers. We're not horrible people, we promise. Please play games with us.
Yes, no, we're not. I know. I really wish there was something really that distinguished between the two different things, but unfortunately, there is definitely a connection between the two, and that's one downside I have to really highlight here. Is yes, I do think alpha gamers are technically good for the industry because they are literally the harbingers of word of mouth promotion, but it's offset by getting playing their favourite game, especially if it's a co-op. They will be the type, not always, but a lot of the time, James, they'll be the type that will take over that game. Yeah,
I mean, the thing is like, because I've heard a lot of people talk about that and it becoming especially prevalent in co-op games. There's also a very fine line in things like that between a discussion and because if it's a co-op game, there will usually be points to discuss, right, what are we all doing? Where certain people will go, well, I think you should do this. There is a fine line between somebody coming up with a suggestion and somebody taking over the game. It is a very, very thin line.
Do you know what? You may, James, have just found our next topical.
Yeah.
Because I'm already pitching it as like, what is the difference between manipulation and negotiation? Because I agree, there is definitely a very fine line.
It is very fine. It is, to me, the line ends where it's like where you sort of say, as an example, we're playing a co-op game. Then we get to a point where have to make a decision as a group.
Yep.
And we huddle up, and I'm sort of looking at it, and I sort of go, right, guys, I have a suggestion. I think Jason should do this.
Yep.
And then you turn around and go, well, I don't really want to do that. I want to do this. That's the line, is whether I turn around and go, oh, no, you cool. You do that. It's your character. Or I go, no, you do this.
Yeah. If you're playing someone else's turn for them.
Yeah. It's like, it's fine as a co-op game to discuss options with people and go, well, I think maybe this would be in the best thing for you to do, because I was thinking of doing this, especially if it's related to something that's like, well, if I tell you what I was planning to do and then see what you think. But it is ultimately up to you to do what you want. And it's not to get in a huff if someone won't do what you want them to do. It is their character, their turn, their game, ultimately.
Yeah, 100%.
And sometimes you have to let people make a glaring mistake, even if you can see that mistake coming a mile off. It's like, it's their game.
It is still tough, James, because even as we're sitting here talking about this, I'm just sort of like, alpha gamers, man. I've come across so many of them in the past, and they are a problem. But, in the form of the industry and the business, they are good because they make the business more money. And as we've discussed many times in the past, more money within the business of board games means more development, more money reinvested, more games.
See, I almost kind of, now that we've had this discussion, disagree with the connotation of the negative aspect that we all think of them being alpha gamers. I think power gamer needs to be reclaimed.
Yeah.
Because my experience with those people is they're essentially sore winners.
Yes.
They're all bad winners. My personal experience of people who are like that, who are very in your face, take that, don't actually like the leadership roles.
No.
And taking responsibility for growing their community in that. It's like, no, they just want to come in, sit down,
destroy,
kick butt and leave, basically. Yeah. So I would actually say they are the complete opposite of what an alpha gamer is.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely prefer the term for on the negative side as power gamers. Yeah, I don't ever want to refer to anyone in a negative way, really. But some people you do just such a power gamer.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's min-maxing. It's cheesing the game to its absolute limits when there's no need to.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But like I said, most people, in my experience, who tend to be like that, shy away from the leadership roles because they don't want that. If they get viewed as having made a bad decision, that's a loss in their mind, and they don't lose.
Yeah.
They don't want to take responsibility for things.
Yeah.
And as we've discussed earlier in the episode, an alpha gamer actually cares about their community and understands that new players are not going to want to join the community if they are curb stomped left, right, and centre.
Yeah. So yeah, there is definitely a distinction between those two things, and I think it would be lovely to start this revolution of reimagining the word alpha gamer.
I can think of an example. We've pulled him up quite a few times as an example, but our 40k alpha gamer,
yes,
who is undeniably incredibly good at the game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With multiple armies. It's not like a typical power gamer who's just got the meta list and just plays it constantly. It's like, he's very much like you used to be with Destiny. It's like, you got to the point where it's like, you pick the army that I play.
Yeah.
Just so there's no sort of illusions here. But he'll actually sit down with a player afterwards and go, would you like me to tell you how I beat you?
Yeah.
Rather than just going, I beat you in your face. Yeah. Next challenger, please.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. He's not arrogant about it. And it is just that sort of thing of like, I think you made some mistake after the game, again, because you won't play the game for his opponent. But after the game, it's just to have a discussion of, okay, here's where you went wrong from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this is where I was able to do this because you did this.
Yeah. So hopefully that player has learnt something from their loss.
Yeah. And that to me is the epitome of what an alpha gamer should be, because, you're so good at the game, again, that person sits down, he studies the rule book. We've just had 10th edition drop, yet before the very first game night, after it had dropped, he already knew so many of those rules and was able to sort of go, right, this is, I'm able to build this list because I can do this, and I can do this just by studying, because he's passionate about it. He has, that he views that as, that's his game. That's it. That's all he plays. He does play other games, but he doesn't put anywhere near as much passion and as much time and effort into creating as powerful lists as he does in 40k. So but like you said, because he'll play a game, he'll more than likely win, let's be honest. And like you said, he will sit and go, well, I beat you because of this, this, and this. You know, it is a form of teaching. That is what an alpha gamer should be. It's passion. Because I beat you because I've really used my passion to build this, but also I'm going to tell you how I did this. So hopefully you can learn.
Yeah.
And we can grow together.
Yeah. Or I've got this, you haven't really got anything in your list to counter this, so maybe you should think about...
Yeah. Well, this could work for you. Yeah. That kind of thing. And I like that. That's exactly what I would want to see from an alpha gamer, and totally not power gamer. Power gaming. I just have no time for it. No, really. So I would love nothing more than to see the terminology of alpha gamer either disappear completely or be reimagined to what it should be. Yeah. You know, I think the way the industry looks at an alpha gamer, I think that's far more where it should be.
I don't think it ever will, though, because, again, in other aspects of life, those kind of people they usually self-label themselves alpha, and they're just not what they think they are.
No.
And that's mostly where it gets its negative connotations from.
So it is a shame. I guess this is another thing. It's not unique to tabletop gaming.
No, it's with everything else. And power gaming is, like you said, it's prevalent in video games. It's pretty prevalent in anything that could potentially, where there's competition. And it's just, it breeds bad practices. It breeds elitism, which, you know, you and I both have a huge thing against.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Elitism can just do one. Right over there with power gaming. But yeah, so James, did we answer the question? Did we answer, are alpha gamers actually good for the business of tabletop gaming? And also, as an extension of that, are they good for the community around those games?
I think the general conclusion that we've drawn, Jason, is it depends on your definition of what an alpha gamer is.
Excellent. So we've managed to do another just shy of hour-long topical discussion and managed to answer 0 questions.
We answered a question with a question.
In true British fashion.
Yes.
Oh, yes. You can definitely trust us to be British. I didn't have a cup of tea, though, this time.
No.
I had coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had juice.
I did.
This is weird. We call ourselves British
We're
here.
failing at being British, Jay.
It's okay. It's okay. I am at Wimbledon tennis. That's also part of being British, right? I can't stand tennis, but I'm there. So, strawberries and cream. I had a scone today.
A scone?
I had a cream, Devonshire cream and jam scone, or jelly for you Americans.
Okay. Did you have to sell a kidney to get it?
I didn't.
It's Wimbledon after all.
Yes, but it was in the staff area. So it was cheap. Oh, no, obviously. Actually, it doesn't matter. Wimbledon's over by the time this goes out. Yeah, the staff area is quite a bit cheaper. So... So, yeah, I was in there. I'm guessing it means probably not as good as the ones that I can get over on the champagne stands that are selling bottles of tiny, like 1 glass bottles of champagne for 27 quid. Whoo! These people have got too much money, James.
They have got too much money.
If they really want to spend some money and have nothing to show for it, I'm more than happy to spend it for them on more games.
Yeah. I think they should do the community a service.
They really should. I mean, they probably don't know about the community, which, first off, why not?
Well, that's it, Jason. Here you go. I have a solution to that. It's like, you've got a nice big van, so just get rid of all the water that's in the back of it, that you don't need that.
No, of course not.
Go to the club, pick up a few gaming tables, and set them up at Wimbledon.
Yeah,
and then suddenly,
on the pitches, yeah?
No, not on the pitch, but outside centre court, and then steal the crowd. Because what you're doing will be far more interesting.
It will be. I wonder if there's any tennis-themed games. Interesting. Maybe we should do that for this time next year. We'll find a tennis-themed game.
See, I don't know.
Is the World Cup coming up? I'm sure there's football-themed games.
Yeah, well, there used to be a football. I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember Subbuteo?
I actually still own Subbuteo.
I haven't played Subbuteo.
So I have Subbuteo. It's in the loft. God knows where, but it's in the loft. I remember Subbuteo. And they did a re-release of it a couple of years ago as well for its anniversary.
Yeah.
And they changed nothing. I mean, I'm surprised you remember Subbuteo because it's ultimately a dexterity game.
Yes. Subbuteo was one of the games when we were growing up that everybody owned Subbuteo.
It's very true. Although, when you think back to it now, did you used to play Subbuteo properly? or did you play it a bit more like the other flicking game that you had with the little monsters, the little plastic monsters? I forget what they were called now.
Yeah.
I want to say Pogs, but they were the little discs, weren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we ended up playing Subbuteo. It was just flicking the characters at each other.
Yep.
It was like, whichever character stays like standing up the longest would win. Only because we lost the football very quickly. But yeah, Subbuteo.
Subbuteo. There you go, mate. You need to dig Subbuteo out of the loft. We'll do an episode on it.
Is Subbuteo a good game? No. Actually, no, that's a bit harsh, actually. It was pretty good. I remember enjoying it. I'm not sure I'd enjoy it now, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe we will have to dig it out. And I'll put you through that on a Wednesday night gaming.
No, take it to the club, mate. You'll suspend gaming because you know as soon as you roll that mat out, everyone will know what it is.
Yeah, true. How to get 40 to 50 gamers to stop what they're doing. Excellent stuff. But yeah, James, my voice is going.
Yep. Let's call it.
We're without editing, we're at 55 minutes. And it'll probably be down to about 45 minutes. But yeah, have we had a good episode, James?
We have had a good episode.
It's been good chatting with you, James.
Oh, good.
It is, yeah. We don't usually have a nice conversation like this. Normally, if we go out, it's dead silent. But anyway, let's head off. Till next week, I have been Jason.
And I've been James.
And you have been listening to the Meeple Minded podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta, goodbye.